Tips from Trestle is brought to you by Wiseox AI, Advantage Trust GPO, the Dining with Dementia Workshop, and the 100% Leader. Welcome to Tips from Trestle, the Senior Living Food and Hospitality Podcast. This podcast explores the senior living industry with a unique focus on food, hospitality, and the community experience. I'm your host, Aaron Fish. My goal for this podcast: educate, inform, and inspire leaders in senior living. How? By bringing the resident and customer experience to the front of mind in our industry. We should bring the passionate spirit of food and hospitality to everything that we do and everyone we serve each and every day. So what are we waiting for? Let's get to it. On this week's episode of Tips from Trestle, I'm giving you an amazing throwback episode, as we normally do on a holiday week. This was an amazing conversation I had with a colleague and a good friend, Shawn McGregor from Healthcare Services Group. We presented last year at the Florida Senior Living Association conference on a topic called From Table to Tour. And we just dug into the concept of how to use your dining program and hospitality in general to truly build a culture that will sell your community. So I always love talking with Shawn. It's a great relationship we have, and I'm fortunate I get to share this with you all again this week. So let's dive into my conversation with Shawn McGregor, talking about From Table to Tour. Enjoy. With me today on Tips from Trestle is Shawn McGregor. Shawn is the Senior Executive Chef at Health Services Group. His responsibilities is overseeing the culinary and systems training for over 2,000 kitchens in the Health Services Group all across the country. Shawn, thanks for joining me today.
Thanks for having me. It's a pleasure.
So we're here at the Florida Senior Living Conference, and yesterday I got the luxury of going on a panel with you talking about, it's called From Table to Tour, showcasing hospitality through dining. And it was I thought, a pretty lively conversation. We had a lot of audience interaction, which was great. But I wanted to just continue some of the conversation. And some of the things we're going to talk about here is a continuation of some of the questions that we didn't get to. But where I want to start is one of the first things we talked about in the panel was training staff. And specifically, how do we train staff to try and deliver exceptional hospitality? And I thought the way you talked about it and the way you described it was worth revisiting. So I'd love for you to talk a little bit about your approach to staff training, why it's so important, and how that is such a key piece of all of this.
Sure. First of all, and thank you, Aaron. It was a pleasure. Obviously, we've been working together a while. It was a pleasure sitting next to you and having these conversations. And yes, I agree. And I think it went exceptionally well. I was actually really surprised by not only the engagement, but the attention to what we were talking about from everyone in that room. And it was really great. And Brett, will throw his name out there. Brett was with us. So this is what we share with that. And when we talked about that, because I'm a culinarian and I'm a chef, my job mostly does revolve around food, right? Plating and garnishing. And somebody brought it up. How to teach you how to garnish and all those things. Having said that, in the question, in my opinion, the key word was hospitality, because I teach you how to clean, teach you how to do all those things. So the way I like to do that is trying to share stories. And yesterday, what I shared with is, again, I don't want to throw my resume. I'm a pretty senior chef, and I could probably work just about anywhere. I choose to be in healthcare. My company specifically, I'll give them a shout out. I love this company, but healthcare in and of itself, here's why. I shared a story yesterday. Thousands of good stories, but this one specifically has stayed with me for a very long time. And honestly, I don't. But I was in one of our buildings. We had a Christmas party. It was Christmas Eve, Christmas party for everybody. It's a beautiful buffet, a big huge Christmas tree behind it. It was really stunning. Yeah. And the food was exceptional. And I was in the room, set up to my chef shack, and the very first person they wheeled into there in her wheelchair, they rolled up to me and she reached out and she said, "Did you do this just for me?" And I said, "Why would I do that?" And she said, "Because I'm hungry today." And my answer was, absolutely, yes. She had a grin 5 miles wide.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think that, to your point, I think that customer service, hospitality, all of that reflects well in any given building, or it should be tangible.
Yeah.
And not just from food service, but from every other building when you're touring somebody to come through who you want to be a client.
Yeah. Look, at the point that I think we got across with that conversation was you made the connection with that lady.
Yes.
And it wasn't difficult to do. And I think a lot of times we overthink the hospitality. So we overthink having to do with these grand over the top plate presentations and the wow and all of that, where really it's more about they want to see that connection. They want to see that they're going to be taken care of. They're going to be supported when they come to a community. It's shouldn't be that difficult to do.
Agreed. And again, I shared a couple others that were similar. We won't go into all that. And again, because I could do it all day. It's enough.
But for sure. One of the other things we got into a little bit, the visual of a showcase cooking or a Showtime cooking. And we kind of got into that because the audience was really wanting us to talk more about that, what the value is in that. And so when you think about the impact it can have on the community, the experience in it, that engagement piece from a resident standpoint, why is that something that people should try and embrace more, or try to do more of in their communities?
It's funny that you asked the question after yesterday, because not 10 minutes ago, I'm standing with somebody who was in that room, and it was the first thing they brought up.
Really?
Yes. And just standing in the hallway, waiting you. So tell me more about this demonstration of their cooking. I said, so aside from the fact that it's pretty, it makes the whole building smell good. And there's a whole lot of stuff going on there. It engages the residents. It engages the customer. And again, it doesn't matter where you do it. And by the way, we discussed this. I had a conversation tonight with a general contractor, and we were talking about opening the buildings. Yeah. And the new direction is open air kitchens. Yeah. So everybody can see what's happening. So I think that, again, aside from making it something different and making great food, it's right there. Aside from all that, I think that people just love to watch chefs do their thing.
Yeah.
And they get a really good, warm, fuzzy feeling.
Yeah.
When they can see their food being prepped, when they can see it being cooked. I think that's a great thing. And yeah, we do it a lot in our organization. Again, we do both rich nursing. And I think that the IELTS and IELTS would really benefit themselves to be able to do that. And listen, in some cases, it would generate revenue, but I don't think that's the intent. I think their intent is to generate engagement, to get the people out of there, to each other many dining room, have that habit. And by the way, that's what I spoke to her. That 10 minutes. So you got to do this. And by the way, it is general. It is a revenue generator.
Yeah.
If you choose, if you're already serving a la carte or doing those things, have that. I think it's great.
Absolutely. One of the other things that I think came up, and I don't remember if it was you or Brent that mentioned this, but as we were talking about this, the flip side of that is the engagement with the employee, the cook, getting them out of the kitchen, letting them interact with the resident, letting them showcase their skills. Because if you're a cook, you spend a day in the kitchen, you're hardly ever out on the floor. And I think that's another opportunity to get your staff out there. You even talked about having the cooks go and walk the floor during a meal service and the benefit of that.
And from a couple of different perspectives, one to your point, 100%, is that they get to know them. Another quick story. So I was in a building serving my chef Jack down in the dining room, and somebody noticed the meal's really good. We're so happy here. Thank you. And I said, I didn't do it. Jim did. And they were like, who's Jim? Jim had been a cook in that building for 25 years.
Wow.
And they didn't know who he was.
That's
so
crazy.
we do, and I'll just share what we shared yesterday brief. We're required through QA to do resident satisfaction surveys. So many residents, we talk to them. And I'm sure, man, let the cook do it. Let the cook go out and get both credit and criticism, because credit and criticism both do good things. Because once you're credited, you want to keep doing a good job. Keep doing it. It says too much salt. It's okay, John. So I won't do too much salt or whatever it is I have to do. And I think we talked about that briefly about surveys and people come in inspection. If your residents love you and they love their dining style, all of them, can't just be the man, that'd be everybody. Yeah. When they come in, it's really hard to criticize somebody you love. Yeah, it's very true. They look, even from a personality perspective, it's really hard. But
Yeah.
yeah, that works well.
Yeah. Brooke made the comment that if the meal is slightly above average, but the service is great and you know the people, you're going to get great scores. They're going to love it. Whereas the opposite of that isn't necessarily going to be true.
Could not agree.
Yeah, sure. So I want to get to a couple of the questions that we wanted to get to because I think they're really key and your expertise is going to be great to talk about this. The dietary restrictions. We have to deal with all of the healthcare aspects. And so when you're trying to create these kind of engagement opportunities with food, how do you deal with the dietary restrictions that come up when working with seniors?
So thanks for that question. Especially in our world, we service hospitals, we service all kind of stuff. But skilled nursing, it's really a challenge. And this is one of the things that I and my peers train on. Vocabulary, extremely important. And our menus are what we refer to as clinically driven and preference-based. That's the vocabulary. That's the way it works.
Yeah.
And you actually brought that up about going to the resident, having a conversation about their preferences, their likes and dislikes, and all those things. You talked about that in good form, actually. And it's a requirement. It's skilled nursing. They're required inside of 24 hours. Now, to go do a full preference, and our systems fix that. Our systems adjust that. So even when we're doing other things, if I'm doing, let's just say a pasta station, I would normally use 2 or 3 different sauces, but if it's a red sauce, Rito can't have red sauce, I would know that by virtue of my program that I have to do that. So if you're following my program, shout out, Meal Tracker is who we use. Meal Tracker is actually Science the Matrix, everyone who know what that is. But what it does is it prints out information on every single meal.
Yeah.
And then we have what's called the diet guide, and it literally converts what they can't have to what they can have.
Yeah.
So even when we do Showtime cooking or cooking that is out, we know who they are. Listen, even to the point that, and listen, a lot of our building staff is really good at this too. And again, to answer the question, clinically driven, we have all of our menus are written by what I'm going to suggest to you is the best dietitians on the planet. We have the largest group of dietitians in the country. I don't even know how many there are. There are thousands, and they truly are the best. And our ones at corporate are amazing. So
in that, what I would want listener to hear and take away is that you have a system in place that makes that easy for everybody on your team to do. And I think what happens a lot of times in independent living and assisted living is we don't think about that. We think, oh, okay, we can just write a 7-day menu, then we can just go execute it because we don't have a lot of diets. We don't have a lot of, the problem is you have just enough typically that if you're not paying attention to it, you're going to cause a problem. And so having the system in place, having the vocabulary to approach it, I think it's critical.
Or to your point, even just like to this, right? So it's again, there's something you spoke about yesterday too, in the sales process of bringing people in. It's having honest, real conversations about your program. This is how it works.
Yeah.
They don't serve double cheeseburgers on a menu every day. It's not the way this works. I don't serve steak and lobster for dinner. Now, and if you're an ILA and you do, you can say, I do that once a month or whatever is your program is, but to sell it exactly how you do it.
Yeah.
And listen, it's the oldest business cliche in the world. You underpromise and overdeliver.
Right.
Underpromise and overdeliver. Don't tell them you serve steak and lobster. I think you have to mention that.
Yeah.
Don't tell them you're serving stuff you ain't serving.
Yeah.
Or if you're going to do a meal for the family and the clients and do a meal after their tour, don't do something you don't normally do. Else, if you don't normally serve steak and lobster, don't serve it.
Yeah.
Again, I know your chef wants to show off. Yeah, I'll do it. And you at the market person, well, it's nice. I think you even said it, bringing out special stuff, setting the tables, putting out china that you don't use. Don't do it. Don't do it.
No. Yeah, so true. And I also went a step further and was like, tell the marketer not to sit at the table. Sit them with residents, give them the experience that they're going to get. Because if the program's good, that's all they need. They'll know. They'll be able to tell. And if the residents talk it up, that's the easiest sell there is.
Yeah.
So one other question that I really just kind of want to wrap up on here is when operators really start thinking about using dining as a marketing tool, everybody's got it on their website. Everybody's got all of our food is chef driven, chef created. You see the language, but to really use it the right way as a marketing tool, as an advantage, what are some
key things that you would advise them to do to bring dining to the forefront the right way?
So again, that's a great question. And aside from tour building and having a sit down meal at the end of it, or even sharing the menu, you could share, if it's a 2 week, 1 week, 4 week, whatever cycle menu, I'm sharing with them, making them see what that is and understand how your program works. And I said this yesterday, and I've actually done it. We just talked a minute about opening your kitchens and dining out in front of them. But if you have the courage to walk somebody over to your kitchen, I don't imagine that you would get more attention from a couple of perspectives. But you go in and you can get two things from it. The one, we're all talking about sanitation. And as the kitchen looks, it look organized, it look clean. But you're also going to get an idea of what the hospitality is. You know, does anybody turn around and say good morning when they see, or if the chef turns around and says, how you doing? He's in a clean chef's jacket, and he's dressed in a Jefferson uniform, and they look amazing. And the kitchen looks amazing. If they all respond to the potential client, that's the seller, in my opinion. That's the seller.
There's really nothing better, at least from my vantage point, on a tour or a visit with a prospect than having the chef engage with them, even if it's as simple as what you just described. Or, hi, I'm Chef Aaron. We're excited to have you here. Do you have any questions about food? Absolutely. Let them spend 5 minutes. I know a lot of chefs get really uncomfortable doing that, but get them out there, get them in front, because there is really nothing more impressive than somebody showing up in their crisp white chef coat.
Yeah. Listen, I don't go anywhere now. I am always in the chef jacket. Yeah. Make no mistake about who the chef is. And that should always be the case. I 100% agree.
Absolutely. Any other thoughts on things we talked about at the panel that we want to share?
I don't think so, Aaron. Let's get thank you for having me.
Yes.
I hope we get to do that again. And honestly, we'll say this. I know everybody says this, but I think it was amazing, and especially from the different perspectives.
Yeah.
And Clint is actually an operator, and he loves talking about food and being part of the when we work together for years. And you, where you belong, and me from my perspective, I think it was amazing. Really good.
Tell the listeners how they can learn more about Health Services Group. And
so again, the company is Healthcare Services Group.
Healthcare Services Group.
We are based out of Penn Salem. We're in all 48 states. We do both housekeeping or environmental services and dining. I'm going to do it one more time. I love my RDs. They are amazing. We have some of the best in the world. And chefs, we have guys like me. There's actually 5 of me, seniors, and we each have some work for us regionals who participate in training. But this is an exceptional company who does exceptional work. Listen, I think aside from all the stuff we talked about, one of the ladies asked the question yesterday. She said, put in 5 words.
Oh, yes.
Why would, in my response, I love American.
Yeah.
And I think that the majority of the people, certainly in my world, love what they do. And if you don't love what you do, don't do it.
Yeah. I think that statement summed up the whole conversation.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Shawn, thanks so much for doing this.
Thanks, sir.
Absolutely.
Appreciate you.
Thanks for being on the podcast.
I'm sure we'll do it again. Thank you, man. Appreciate you.
So there it is, everybody. Another one in the books. Thanks again for tuning in. Please follow and subscribe on YouTube, Spotify, Apple, or wherever you get your podcasts. And be sure to follow us on social media at Tips from Trestle. You can also learn more about the work I do by following me on LinkedIn, Twitter, Instagram, and even TikTok. And be sure to check out Trestle Hospitality Concepts at www.trestlehospitalityconcepts.com. I'm your host, Aaron Fish, and this has been another episode of Tips from Trestle.